Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya. So I think some of you have started back to school this week. So in school, there's lots of very important subjects, right? Science and math and English and maybe French, right? So there's many things that you have to study in school. But there's one very important thing that the Supreme Buddha taught us that we need to study, that you probably don't have a class in. Do you know what that was? We need to study our own mind, right? I bet you don't have a class. 5th period, my mind. Do you? No. So, these aren't the kind of things that we're going to learn about in school. We have to study our own mind very carefully, right? You can actually study your mind while you're in school. But the Supreme Buddha taught us that if we want to overcome this sadness that we experience in this life, we have to look at our mind very, very carefully and see what's in it. So today, we get to learn a very beautiful sutta about the importance of looking at what's going on in our own minds. So this is called the Anangana Sutta, without blemishes. So do you know what a blemish is? So a blemish is like a mistake or a little problem with something, right? People talk about having a blemish on their skin, or maybe you buy something and you bring it home and you see that it has some little problem, right? You paid a lot of money for it, but it has a chip on it or a little crack. So we can call that a blemish. That's a problem that something has. So this sutta isn't about blemishes on things that we buy in the store. It's about in our mind, right? So thus have I heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There the Venerable Sariputta addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Friends, bhikkhus." And they replied by saying, "Friend." So you know, when the Supreme Buddha was alive, the monks addressed each other as friend, just like they were equals. But right before the Supreme Buddha died, he said, you shouldn't keep up this practice, that senior monks can call a junior monk friend or use their name when they address them. But junior monks should never call a senior monk friend. They should call him Bhante or some respectful form of address. But here we know this sutta is taking place when the Supreme Buddha is still alive. So the Venerable Sariputta said this: "Friends, there are these 4 kinds of persons found existing in the world. What for? Here, some person with a blemish does not understand as it actually is thus: I have a blemish in myself. Here, some person with a blemish understands it as it actually is thus: I have a blemish in myself. Then the third person: here, some person with no blemish does not understand as it actually is thus: I have no blemish in myself. And then the fourth person: here, some person with no blemish understands it as it actually is thus: I have no blemish in myself." So, let's think about these 4 kinds of people, right? We can divide them into two categories. The first two people, what do they have? They have a blemish. They have some problem in their mind. The second group, what about them? No blemish. No blemish. But that's not the only difference, right? In the first group, one person has no idea that they have a blemish. But the second person, they actually know, I have some problem. I have this thing going on in my mind that's not good. And then the second group don't have blemishes. But again, there's a difference. The first one doesn't know that their mind is free, right? Free from blemishes. But the second one knows, I don't have any blemishes in my mind. So then the Venerable Sariputta teaches us how we can order these people. Are they all the same or are they all different? So he says, herein, the person with a blemish, who does not understand it as it actually is thus, I have a blemish in myself, is called the inferior of these two persons with a blemish. So, the one who doesn't realize that they have a problem, the Venerable Sariputta says, that person is inferior. They're not as good as the person who has a blemish and knows that they have a blemish. So herein, the person with a blemish, who understands it as it actually is thus, I have a blemish in myself, is called the superior of these two persons. So then, even of the second group, these last two people, he says, herein, the person with no blemish, who does not understand it as it actually is thus, I have no blemish, is called inferior of these two persons with no blemish. Herein, the person with no blemish, who understands it as it actually is thus, I have no blemish, is called the superior of these two persons with no blemish. So again, even these two people who don't have a problem going on in their mind, the Venerable Sariputta says, the one who knows that they don't have a problem happening in their mind, they're better than the other person, right? Even though they both don't have something going bad in their mind. The one who actually knows this, they're better. So when this was said, the Venerable Mahamoggallana asked the Venerable Sariputta, Friend Sariputta, what is the cause and reason why, of these two persons with a blemish, one is called the inferior man, and one is called the superior? What is the cause and reason why, of these two persons with no blemish, one is called the inferior man, and one is called the superior man? So we see how beautiful it is that these great arahants talk to each other about the Supreme Buddha's Dhamma, right? Even the Venerable Mahamoggallana was paying very close attention, listening, thinking about what the Venerable Sariputta was saying. Then the Venerable Sariputta replies, Herein, friend, when a person with a blemish does not understand it as it actually is thus, I have a blemish in myself, it can be expected that he will not arouse zeal, he will not make an effort, or instigate energy to abandon that blemish. And not only that, he will die with lust, hate, and delusion, with a blemish, with mind defiled. So, we can think about ourselves, right? When we don't realize that we have a problem, we don't spend any time trying to overcome that problem, do we? If we don't realize that we're a very greedy person, we don't think about practicing generosity. If we don't realize that we have hatred towards some people, maybe we we have a very happy life and we're never surrounded by people that we don't like. We may not realize that inside our mind is this hatred waiting to happen. And so we don't spend any energy practicing metta bhavana. Right? We don't think about how dangerous it is to have these thoughts in our mind. So the Venerable Sariputta teaches us that this person who doesn't realize that they have a problem, they're going to die with that very same problem. That problem's not going to go away on its own. Right? If they don't realize that they have it, they won't make the effort to overcome it. And then he gives us a very beautiful simile. He says, suppose a dish were to come from the factory, from the shop that it was made, and it was dirty, right? No one had cleaned it up. And they gave it to someone, and that person took that dish, and they packed it away somewhere in some corner, right in the back of the closet, maybe out in the garage, some dirty place. So he asks, do you think that that dish is ever going to get clean? Right? It started out dirty, and someone just stuck it somewhere without paying any attention to it. Is that dish going to get clean on its own? The monks say no. It won't get clean on its own. In fact, it's going to get even more dirty. Right? So someone who doesn't realize that they have a blemish in their mind, that they have some defilement, that defilement, it's probably even going to get worse. Certainly, it's not going to get better if people don't have an awareness that they have it. But then, on the other hand, this second person who realizes that they have a problem, the Venerable Sariputta says, herein, when a person with a blemish understands it as it actually is thus, I have a blemish in myself, it can be expected that he will arouse zeal, make an effort, and instigate energy to abandon that blemish. And he will die without lust, without hate, without delusion, without a blemish, with mind undefiled. So this person who realizes that they have a problem, they're going to work very hard to overcome this problem. Right? When we realize that we have something going on, when we realize how easily we get angry, right? How greedy we are for other people's things, and we learn about the danger in that, we learn how it just leads to a bad destination, that it leads to being tied to this long round of samsara. Then we start to feel like we have to do something about it, that we're not happy with the situation. We're not shy to ask our Kalyanamitta, how do I overcome this problem? Have you ever heard any teaching that's helped you overcome this problem? But if we don't know about that problem in our mind, we don't work to overcome it. So then he gives another simile. He says, suppose a dish, a bronze dish, were to come from the shop that it was made in, and it was all dirty. No one had taken care of it in the shop. But then the person takes that dish and they clean it up. And then they put it in a very special place, high up on a nice shelf. Is that dish going to get dirty again? Or will it just keep getting cleaner and cleaner? And the monks say, it's going to get cleaner and cleaner. Even though it started out dirty, the person works to clean it up. So we can take a lot of comfort in thinking about this, can't we? Because we can think of many things in our minds, right, that we'd like to clean up. The Supreme Buddha knew that we have these things in our mind. But we don't need to be ashamed, right? We don't need to pretend that they're not there. We just need to think, what can I do to overcome this? What are the teachings that I've learned that can help me overcome this problem? So this is why this second person is better than the first person, right? Because the first person, they just end up with that dirty dish. It gets dirtier and dirtier. So now we learn about these two other people that don't have a blemish in their mind. So herein, when a person with no blemish does not understand it as it actually is thus, I have no blemish in myself, it can be expected that he will give attention to the sign of the beautiful, that by his doing so lust will infect his mind, and that he will die with lust, hate, and delusion, with a blemish, with a mind defiled. Right? So he doesn't have any problems going on in his mind at that point. And then he doesn't realize what a good situation that he has, that he needs to protect this mind that doesn't have anything bad going on. He doesn't realize that. And instead, he starts to think about something desirable, something very beautiful. And when he thinks about that without reflecting on it, without thinking wisely about the nature of conditioned things, just thinking about the gratification, the good things, about that beautiful thing, he starts to think in that way. And then suddenly, lust that wasn't in his mind before, desire, greed that wasn't there before, starts to come up. And then, because he's not aware of his own mind, he doesn't do anything to get rid of that lust. It may even get worse and worse. And then maybe someone tries to take that thing away from him that he likes, and he gets angry. Right? And more unwholesome states come into his mind. So then the Venerable Sariputta gives another simile. He says, suppose a bronze dish came from a shop and it was perfectly clean. It was very beautiful. But then when somebody got that dish, they didn't take care of it. They just laid it aside, maybe put it behind some boxes, put it out in the garage. What's going to happen to that dish? It's just going to get more and more dirty, right? Even though it started out clean, it still has the ability to get dirty. And so that's what happens to this dish. And in the same way, if we don't realize when we have something good going on in our mind, when our mind is peaceful, when we don't have greed, when we don't have hatred, right, going on at that time, then we don't work to protect that. We don't realize that we have a good quality, that we're just waiting for something to happen, for those unwholesome qualities to arise. And when they do, we don't realize what's going on. We don't pay attention to it. So this is the third person. So then the fourth person, do you remember what their quality is? No blemish, and they realize that they don't. So herein, when a person with no blemish understands it as it actually is thus, I have no blemish in myself, it can be expected he will not give attention to the sign of the beautiful, that by his not doing so, lust will not infect his mind, and that he will die without lust, hate, and delusion, without blemish, with mind undefiled. So he realizes what a good thing he has going on in his mind. And he doesn't pay attention to things that would make greed arise in his mind. He doesn't give attention to things that would have hatred arise in his mind. And because of that, he can lead his life without these things, and he can die without these unwholesome states in his mind. So then, the fourth simile. What kind of dish do you think it is? It's a nice, clean dish. And the people that get that dish, they take very good care of it. Right? It starts out clean, and they realize what a wonderful opportunity they have to have something really, really nice. And so they take care of it. They don't let anything bad happen to it. that's just like this person who has wholesome states in their mind. They don't have problems going on in their mind. And they realize that. They realize how valuable that is. What a great benefit it can be to themselves and to other people. And so they guard their mind very carefully. They don't pay attention to things that would give rise to greed, that would make them have greedy thoughts. They don't pay attention to things that would make them have hateful thoughts. Right? They pay attention to things very wisely. So then the Venerable Sariputta says, this is the cause and reason why of these two persons with a blemish. One is called the inferior man, and one is called the superior man. This is the cause and reason why of these two persons with no blemish. One is called the inferior man, and one is called the superior man. Right? So with the first set, the person who knows that they have a blemish, right, is better, because they'll work to overcome it. And the second set, the one who knows that they have no blemish, they'll protect that state. Then the Venerable Sariputta says, blemish, blemish is said, friend. But what is this word, blemish, a term for? Blemish, friend, is a term for the spheres of evil, unwholesome wishes. So now we're going to learn very specifically what he has in mind. And he says we can think of these blemishes as wishes that are unwholesome, wanting things that are not good. Right? There's many things that we can want that are good. Right? We can want to have a peaceful mind. We can want to overcome this long round of samsara. Right? These are wholesome wishes. These are good things to want. But now we get to learn about things that are not good to wish for, and what can happen if someone does. It is possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, if I commit an offense, let the bhikkhus not know that I have committed an offense. So, you know that the monks and nuns have many, many rules, many things that we're supposed to do and that we're not supposed to do. But sometimes monks will break those rules. And so this is a monk who has a wish. Don't let anybody find out what I've done. Right? So can we think about ourselves? Do we ever have that wish? Oh, I hope nobody finds out what I did. Right? This isn't a problem just for monks and nuns. Right? Everyone can have this thought, oh, I hope nobody learns this mistake that I made, this bad thing that I did. I did it on purpose even, right? That we have this wish. I don't want anyone to find out. But then it's possible that the bhikkhus find out that he did this bad thing. And because of that, he's angry and bitter, thinking thus, the bhikkhus know I have committed an offense. The anger and bitterness are both a blemish. So what happens? Somebody finds out what's gone on. And he doesn't think, okay, well now it's out in the open, right? I can overcome this bad thing that I did, right? Because for most of the offenses that monks can commit, all you have to do is tell another monk to clear that offense and make the determination not to do it again. But here, this monk, he's angry, right? That people found out. So not only did he do something bad, but then he got angry because people found out. Even though talking about this problem with his fellow monks is really what he needs to do. Instead, he gets angry. So the Venerable Sariputta says, this anger and this bitterness, right, he thinks he's been treated unfairly, that these are both a blemish. So another situation. it's possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, if I do commit some offense, may the bhikkhus admonish me in private, right? I've done something bad, and if they catch me, then I want them to scold me privately, without anyone else around, right? Nobody else needs to know. But then what happens? People find out, and they blame him and they scold him, right in the midst of the whole group. And even though he did something wrong, and he's being blamed correctly, right? Maybe very gently, but still, he's angry that he's being admonished in front of all of his friends, in front of everybody else. So, the Venerable Sariputta says, this anger and this bitterness, they're both a blemish. Another situation. It's possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, if I commit an offense, let a person who is my equal admonish me, not a person who is not my equal. Right? So, this monk, he thinks, if I have to get caught, I want someone who's at least maybe as old as I am, or as senior as I am, to admonish me. I don't want to get caught and blamed by some young monk, right? By some samanera who catches me doing something and scolds me, right? I don't deserve that sort of treatment, right? I should be talked to by someone who's equal to me. But then he gets caught, and someone not his equal, someone junior to him, admonishes him, right? Corrects him, and because of that, he gets angry, right? And again, the Venerable Sariputta says, this anger and this bitterness, right, feeling that he's been treated unfairly, these are both a blemish. So remember how we're learning about these blemishes, that someone can realize that they have it, or they cannot realize that it's going on in their mind. So these monks that we're hearing about, right, they don't realize that they have these things going on in their mind. They just get angry. They blame other people for the problem. So another situation, it is possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, oh, that the teacher might teach the Dhamma to the bhikkhus by asking a series of questions of me, not of some other bhikkhu. So we can hear in many suttas where the Supreme Buddha asks a question of a certain monk. And then that monk answers, and the Supreme Buddha teaches the Dhamma in this way. So here this monk, right, he's very proud. He thinks, I want to be the one that he calls on. Right? Have we ever been that way in school? Right? We know the answer. We think, oh, I want them to call on me so I can show that I know the answer. But then, what happens? The teacher calls on someone else. And we don't get to show what we know. So, in this situation, this monk who doesn't get called on by the teacher, he gets angry. He's bitter. Right? He feels like he's been treated unfairly. And again, this anger and this bitterness are a blemish. So we can think about all these ways in our lives when we wish for something that maybe isn't the best thing to wish for, right? These aren't things that are worth wishing for even. But then we don't get our way. And because we haven't thought about the fact that, this wasn't even a good thing to wish for in the first place. So maybe I'm better off that I didn't get it. So again, it's possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, oh, that the bhikkhus might enter the village for alms, putting me in the front, not some other bhikkhu. Right? It's kind of a silly wish, isn't it? There's going to be enough food for everyone, but here this monk wants to walk first. But he doesn't get his way. And because of that, he gets angry. So think about it. He wasn't even wishing for something good, and he didn't get it, but still, he gets angry. He doesn't think, oh, maybe that wasn't such a good idea anyway. Maybe I should work on not being so proud. He doesn't think that way. He doesn't realize the problem that he has. So again, it's possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, oh, that I might get the best seat, the best water, the best alms food in the refectory, not some other bhikkhu. Right? Again, not a very good wish to think, oh, I want to have the best of everything. And then, when he doesn't get it, he gets angry. Another situation. It's possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, oh, that I might teach the Dhamma to the bhikkhus, that I might teach the Dhamma to the bhikkhunis, men lay followers, women lay followers, visiting the monastery, and not some other bhikkhu. So, we can imagine, right, wanting to teach the Dhamma, that's a good thing, isn't it? But that's not really the thought that this monk has. He's very proud. He wants to show off. He wants to get that attention. How do we know that? Because when he doesn't get his way, he gets angry. He doesn't think, oh, I'm so happy that someone else gets the chance to do that. It wasn't a wholesome wish. He didn't really have those people's welfare in mind. He was very proud. He was very arrogant. And because of that, he gets angry when he doesn't get his way. So we can think about our own lives, all the times that we have these wishes and we don't get our way. We can think, was that really a good thing to be wishing for? Did I really deserve that thing that I was wishing for? How did I react when I didn't get my way? Was I happy for the other people? Or was I just angry? Was I just jealous? So again, it's possible that a bhikkhu here might wish, oh, that I might be the one to get a superior robe, superior alms food, a superior resting place, superior medicinal requisites, not some other bhikkhu. So here we have a monk who's completely misunderstood the purpose of the requisites. He's completely misunderstood the Supreme Buddha's instruction, how we should think about these things. That we should eat our alms food as if we were eating the flesh of our only child. Right? We should be happy with whatever it is that we get. That the whole purpose of using these things, of using these simple robes, of using this alms food, this shelter, this medicine, it's to help us remove our greed for these things. It's to help us remove our desire, to help us be content with whatever it is that we get and see the happiness that comes from that. But here, this monk has totally gone off course. And when he doesn't get his way, he gets angry. He feels cheated. He feels like he doesn't get the things that he deserved. And the Venerable Sariputta says, this anger, this bitterness that he has, these are both a blemish. Blemish, friend, is a term for the spheres of these evil, unwholesome wishes. Then he says, if the spheres of these evil, unwholesome wishes are seen and heard to be unabandoned in any bhikkhu, so if people find out about a monk who has these evil wishes, they hear about him getting angry when he doesn't get his way, getting angry when he gets caught doing something bad, right? Trying to show off. If they hear about this monk, then for all he may be a forest dweller, a frequenter of remote abodes, an alms food eater, a house-to-house seeker, a refuse rag wearer, a wearer of rough robes. So he may be practicing these ascetic practices that the Supreme Buddha praised. Right? These are all things that the Supreme Buddha praised. Someone dwelling a forest for most of the year, just living under a tree even. Someone who lives far away from society, just close enough to get the requisites that he needs. Someone who's happy just with the food that strangers put into his bowl as he walks around the village. Someone who goes to every single house, regardless of how good the food might be at a certain place. Someone who wears rag robes, just cast off cloth that might have wrapped up a dead body. Someone who wears very coarse robes. So these are all things that the Supreme Buddha said were good practices. But there's a reason that monks were encouraged to practice these. It was to overcome unwholesome states of mind, overcome unwholesome wishes. So, even if someone does all these good things, all these things that are very hard to do, if he still has these evil, unwholesome wishes, then still his fellows in the holy life do not honor, respect, revere, and venerate him. Why is that? Because the spheres of these evil, unwholesome wishes are seen and heard to be unabandoned in that venerable one. So, even though he's doing these very difficult practices, he's not doing them correctly. Right? He's not working in his mind to overcome these bad mental states. So, even though he does these things, his fellow monks don't respect him because they know what he has going on in his mind. Then the Venerable Sariputta gives us a simile. He says, suppose a bronze dish were to be brought from a shop or a smithy, clean and bright, and the owner put the carcass of a snake or a dog or a human being in it, and covering it with another dish, went back to the market. So think about that. A nice, beautiful dish, but it has something very disgusting in it. Right? A dead snake, a dead dog, a dead human being. Then people seeing it said, "What is that you are carrying about like a treasure?" Then, raising the lid and uncovering it, they looked in. They saw this dead animal, this dead person. And as soon as they saw, they were inspired with such loathing, repugnance, and disgust. So, felt totally sick when they saw it. That even those who were hungry would not want to eat, not to speak of those who were full. Right? So even someone who wanted to eat food, when they looked inside that dish, they wouldn't be hungry anymore. Right? This is this very beautiful simile for this monk. Remember? Who has many unwholesome qualities inside. He may look nice on the outside by doing all these ascetic practices, but once you lift up the lid and look inside, disgusting things. Right? No one would be inspired by that monk. Then, a different kind of monk. If the spheres of these evil, unwholesome wishes are seen and heard to be abandoned in any bhikkhu, then, for all, he may be a village dweller, an acceptor of invitations, a wearer of robes given to him by householders. So, this monk doesn't live far away. He even may go to lay people's homes, go into their homes and eat alms food. The Supreme Buddha said that this is okay to accept invitations. He may wear robes that are made from brand new cloth, sewn by householders. So he does these things. Yet his fellows in the holy life honor, respect, revere, and venerate him. And why is that? Because he doesn't have these bad things going on in his mind. Because these spheres of evil, unwholesome wishes aren't there in his mind. Someone corrects him when he's done something wrong, and he's very, very happy. Right? He's very, very happy to learn what it is that he did wrong. He's very happy to talk to someone, right, to clear that offense. He's not jealous of other people who get good things. He's not angry when he doesn't get his way. He's a very calm, peaceful person. So even though he lives in the city, even though he wears brand new robes that never were wrapped around a dead body, because he doesn't have these unwholesome states in his mind, then his fellow monks honor him. Suppose a bronze dish were brought from a shop or a smithy, clean and bright, and the owners put clean boiled rice and various soups and sauces into it, and covering it with another dish, went back to the market. Then people seeing it said, "What is that you are carrying about like a treasure?" Then, raising the lid and uncovering it, they looked in, and as soon as they saw, they were inspired with such liking, such appetite, such relish, that even those who were full would want to eat, not to speak of those who were hungry. Right? Food so delicious that even people who had a full belly still wanted to eat that food. Right? So this is a simile for this other monk who has these many, many beautiful qualities inside. And when people learn about those beautiful qualities, they have confidence in this person. They have confidence in the teachings of the Supreme Buddha, knowing that it's possible to be someone who's not angry, who's not jealous, who doesn't get mad when they get in trouble. So when this was said, the Venerable Mahamoggallana said to the Venerable Sariputta, "A simile occurs to me, friend Sariputta." Then friend Moggallana, yes, friend Sariputta. And then Venerable Sariputta says, "State it, friend Moggallana." And then he tells a story that on one occasion he was living in the hill fort in Rajagaha. And when he went into the city for alms, he saw a man named Samiti. And he was a cartwright's son. So a cartwright makes wheels. So in the time of the Supreme Buddha, it was a very special job to be able to make a wheel that was very strong, that was very round, right? Didn't have the factories that they have today. And so people needed to know how to take a piece of wood and turn it into a wheel, how to bend it, how to shape it. And so this Samiti was standing there, making a wheel. There was an Ajivaka, Panduputta, and this Ajivaka, he also came from a family that made wheels. And so when he watched this person who was doing a job that he knew how to do, he thought, oh, this is how he needs to do this work. He needs to shape it in this way, he needs to bend it in this way, he needs to do this and that to make this wheel properly. So this ascetic, right, he's paying attention because he knows how to make a wheel, so he gets interested in that. And he thinks, oh, I hope this person, this person needs to do this, they need to do that. And then the person making the wheel did exactly what this ascetic thought. And he was so happy, thinking, It's just like this man knows my mind with his. So this wish that he had, oh, that this Samiti, the cartwright's son, might plane this bend, this twist, this fault out of the fellow, so out of the rim of the wheel, so that it would be without bends, twists, or faults, and come to consist purely of heartwood. So this is the wish that he had, and this is exactly what the man did. Then the Venerable Mahamoggallana says, so too, friend, there are persons who are faithless and have gone forth from the home life into homelessness, not out of faith, but seeking a livelihood. So people who become monks not because they have confidence in the enlightenment of the Supreme Buddha, but because they want some way to get their food. They want some way to get a place to live. They want some easy way to get clothes to wear, to get medicine. So they just become monks for this reason. They're fraudulent, deceitful, treacherous. So they're willing to cheat other people, even their fellow monks. They're haughty, hollow, personally vain. So they're very arrogant. They're really stuck up. They think that they're better than other people. They're rough-tongued, loose-spoken. So they gossip. They say bad things to people. They're unguarded in their sense faculties. They're always trying to enjoy nice things. Immoderate in eating, undevoted to wakefulness, so they don't spend their mind trying to remove these blemishes that they have in their mind. They're unconcerned with recluseship, not greatly respectful of the training, luxurious, careless, leaders in backsliding, neglectful of seclusion, lazy, wanting in energy, unmindful, not fully aware, unconcentrated, with straying minds, devoid of wisdom, driftlers. So, the Venerable Mahamoggallana says, there are people like this. Even in the time of the Supreme Buddha, right? There were many, many monks who saw that this was an easy way to get food, right? They didn't have to work in the field. They didn't have to take care of their families, right? So they could just become monks. And they didn't work at all to follow the teachings of the Supreme Buddha. The Venerable Mahamoggallana says, the Venerable Sariputta, with his discourse on the Dhamma, planes out their faults, just as if he knew my heart with his heart. So, as the Venerable Mahamoggallana is listening to the Dhamma, he's thinking, oh, he should talk about this, right? He can help these bad monks overcome their bad qualities, right? And again, in so many beautiful ways, the Venerable Sariputta was willing to talk about these bad qualities. Right? He cared about these monks who weren't following the instructions. So one by one, he mentions all these things, right? So these monks can look into their minds and realize that they have a blemish. But there are clansmen who have gone forth out of faith from the home life into homelessness, who are not fraudulent, deceitful, treacherous, haughty, hollow, personally vain, rough-tongued, or loose-spoken, who are guarded in their sense faculties, moderate in eating, devoted to wakefulness, concerned with recluseship, greatly respectful of training, not luxurious or careless, who are keen to avoid backsliding, so they really try not to lose the wholesome qualities that they do have. Leaders in seclusion, energetic, resolute, established in mindfulness, fully aware, concentrated, with unified minds, possessing wisdom, not drivellers. Then these monks, on hearing the Venerable Sariputta's discourse on the Dhamma, drink it in and eat it, as it were, by word and thought. Good indeed is it that he makes his fellows in the holy life emerge from the unwholesome and establish themselves in the wholesome. Then he gives a simile. He says, just as a woman or man, young, youthful, fond of adornments, so someone who liked to make themselves beautiful, when they were clean, having received a garland of lotuses, jasmine, or roses, would take it with both their hands and place it on their head. Right? So they wanted to make themselves beautiful, and someone gave them something very beautiful that they could make themselves even more beautiful with. So they take this with a lot of concern, very happily. And he says, in the same way, these good monks, when they hear the Venerable Sariputta's sermon, they love to hear it. They drink it up. Right? Good indeed is it that he makes his fellows in the holy life emerge from the unwholesome and establish themselves in the wholesome. Thus it was that these two great beings rejoiced in each other's good words. Sad, sad, sad. So today we've had the chance to learn this very beautiful discourse about looking into our own minds, looking to see what problems we have, what problems we don't have, and to know that this state of being aware of what's going on in our mind is the highest state, whether we have a problem or not. That we need to look into our own minds and think for ourselves, what is it that we can work on? What is it that we can protect? So, having heard this beautiful discourse by the great Arahant Sariputta, may we always keep these teachings in mind. May we reflect on them wisely. May we lead our lives in accordance with these teachings, and through the power of this merit, may we one day realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sad, sad, sad. Namo Buddha.